One of the most valuable achievements of Sigmund Freud is in the field of psychoanalysis, which led to the development of psychological knowledge about personality in 1933. Freud created an organized model for the psychoanalytic approach by defining the concepts of id, ego, and superego, which refer to the various aspects of human action. The id is the primitive and instinctual part of the mind that contains sexual and aggressive drives and hidden memories. It operates on the pleasure principle, which is the idea that every visual impulse should be satisfied immediately regardless of the consequences. When the id achieves its demands, we experience pleasure. When it is denied, we experience unpleasure or tension. Of course, here pleasure means receiving peace and joy and avoiding suffering. The id cannot tolerate despair and wants to achieve whatever it wants. It doesn't know reason, logic, ethics, and law, and is greedy, selfish, hedonistic, irrational, blind, and fantasy-oriented. The id pursues only one goal, and that is pleasure. It accompanies man from the moment he appears until his death and is completely unconscious. So we can consider that the id as a needy and dependent baby that whatever it wants must be provided immediately. The ego considers social realities and norms, etiquette and rules in deciding how to behave. The ego, unlike the id, is logical and realistic. It wants to meet human needs but pays attention to facts and works on the basis of logic, ethics, and law. Like the id, the ego seeks pleasure and avoids pain, but unlike the id, the ego is concerned with devising a realistic strategy to obtain pleasure. The ego includes the conscious and the subconscious. It becomes a part of human personality structure from childhood. The superego is the opposite of the id and represents the moral part of human action. It is also known as the ideal self. The superego contains the ideals and the punishments we receive when we do not follow moral principles. The superego structure works to control behavior based on social rules. It accompanies man from childhood and consists of two parts, ideals and conscious. Ideals include the standard principles and rules that a person has for good behaviors. Following these principles and rules will lead to rewards, and it gives the person a sense of pride, value, and satisfaction. Conscience includes behaviors that family and society consider bad and unpleasant. These behaviors are forbidden and will lead to bad consequences, punishment, and guilt. All three parts of the id, the ego, and the superego include the human personality, and these parts are in action and relation with each other. The id and the superego are in conflict constantly. The id wants to achieve everything immediately and it is fun. The superego, with its irrational perfectionism and ideals, seeks to suppress the desires and pleasures of the id. In the meantime, the ego tries to control and manage the conflicts between the id and the superego. Since the ego works on the principle of reality and includes the conscious and the subconscious, it can provide the balance between the id and the superego. In such a situation, the person's personality will be in the favorable condition, but with the strength of the id or the superego, the person suffers from mental and personal disorders.